And what a great question, right? This question of where to go first, because the Japanese Empire on this map, like I've shown you, is huge. They own so many islands. Where are we supposed to go? Where do you attack? Which one? All of them? You take all of them one at a time? You kill every Japanese army soldier on each of those islands? You make a landing at each one? You kill them all? Let someone else deal with it? You can't do that, right? It would take forever. If we went island to island to island, if we went to every single one, well, we got this one, now we got to go to the next one and kill them all there. It would take forever to end the war in the Pacific. So our military has to come up with some other way. How can we efficiently get from Pearl Harbor, which is our last area in the Pacific, the Midway Islands that we still control. How do we get from here all the way to freaking Japan with large enough amounts of men and materials to invade that island and get them to actually, give up? So they start thinking, they start brainstorming. There's got to be some route to victory. There's got to be a way. How do we get there? And then our admiral in the Pacific, a guy named Nimitz, has an idea, and he says, "Oh, I have an idea." "Yes, I do." "And the idea is brilliant. We will do something called island hopping. We will only go to the most important islands, yes, and we will ignore the other ones." "That's a pretty good idea," says General MacArthur. "I kind of dig that, man." So Nimitz says, "I'm going to go right through the center of the Pacific," and you can see it over here, right above my head. These islands right here. These are the ones that we will begin to attack with Admiral Nimitz. He's going to start taking a look at Iwo Jima. He's going to start taking a look at Okinawa, Taiwan, Tarawa, places right here in the central of the Pacific. Really important places. The guy who got kicked out of the Philippines when we lost it, General MacArthur. Oh, and here's what I want you to, do for me for tomorrow's class. I just want you to write General MacArthur's name down on a piece of paper and just give it to me on the sly. Don't tell anybody else who doesn't watch the video. They don't deserve to know. Shh. Only you deserve to know. That's right. So write down General MacArthur on a piece of paper, just hand it to me. So MacArthur, the guy that was in the Philippines, he's going to take the southern route. MacArthur is going to say, "You know what, Nimitz, while you go through the center of the Pacific, I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to hop down here to islands like Guadalcanal, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, and we'll meet each other right here at Okinawa. We'll meet up. And by then, the only place left that we'd have to defeat will be Japan." So that's the strategy that we're going to use. They call it island hopping. It's a really, it's a clever strategy, and it works, but all the important islands that we have to invade are something called atolls, and this is really important to understand. I'm going to put an atoll map up here so you can see what I'm talking about. This is the first island that we really invade in large numbers in the Japanese Empire that's important. It's called Tarawa, and it's an atoll. And here in red, you can see the island that we actually invaded. This is the one where the Japanese actually were. And you can see the other parts of the Tarawa atoll right there. And then you can actually see this light blue stuff. What's that light blue stuff? That's coral reef. That's low-lying land that is just beneath the surface of the water, only a couple of feet. Not very deep down at all. I mean, really, this thing right here, it's just the top of a volcano that's just not all the way above the water anymore. So this is just the tippy top of that volcano just underneath the surface of the water. It's very, very shallow. Why do I make that point? Why do I bring that up? Because the invasion at Tarawa is a disaster. It's an unneeded sacrifice that our country makes. 6,400 dead Marines in 3 days. Why? Why is it unneeded? Because we don't come up with a plan to get over those teeny, tiny, shallow reefs that I put up on that map. We don't have a way over them. I'm going to show you two different things here.
On the right is a typical landing craft boat with troops coming out of it. This is the boat that you go right up onto the beach, right, and the doors come down, plop, and everyone runs out. Oh, and you get shot in the way out. Everyone's dead, yeah. That's the typical one. That works in Europe, where there aren't coral reefs. It ain't going to work in the Pacific, not at all. Not a single one of these landing craft boats get over the atolls. All of them get stuck, which means that they have to, our soldiers have to, jump out of these things into water that is waist high and wade, carrying, 50 pounds of gear plus a weapon above their head that they can't get wet because they don't want it to, be ruined. And they have to wade through that water in all of their clothing. Takes a long time. And they have to wade hundreds of yards off the shore to the shore while the Japanese are shooting at them. It's kind of like being at the fair, at the carnival with those little balloons or the ducks games that can kind of go by. The ducks just go like doo, 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 and you get the BB guns and you're like you shoot the BBs. That's kind of what this is like. The only one that made it to shore was this one right here, and it's called an Amphtrack, part boat, part tank. This is the only kind of one, this isn't the exact one, it's an example of one, that actually made it ashore, because when it hit those reefs, it was able to ride over them. So the U.S. Marines take this severe casualties they didn't have to take, an unneeded sacrifice, because those landing crafts couldn't reach shore. But we start to use the Amphtrack more and more and more. We learn, our casualties go down, and that over time, Americans... Excuse me, hold on one second. Wait, just a second. Something in my throat. Oh, yeah. Coffee. So that by August of 1944, only 2.5 years later, we're closing in on Japanese home islands. We're right off the door of Japan. USA, USA.